Don't wait on your spouse. So often in marriage coaching, we hear, I can't work on this because he or she is not involved. And what we've seen consistently after working with thousands and thousands of clients is that you can change the dynamic inside the relationship by yourself. Now, you may think that's impossible, but it's not. And how that works is, inside the relationship, you've set up a way of communicating. It's like two sets of cogs fitting together, and one person triggers the other, don't they? And when that person triggers you, you react in a certain way. Now, if you change that reaction, if you change your reaction, then naturally the other person is not used to that reaction, so they're going to change their reaction. In other words, we have influence over our spouse at both a conscious and unconscious level. Because the reality is we get conditioned to react and communicate inside a relationship in four main ways. What are those ways? Well, firstly, from role models in your life, like parental figures, like grandparents, like other authority figures like teachers, etc., influence us as to how we grew up and how we react to things. And we can learn to change those reactions by disconnecting from the conditioning that we got growing up. Secondly, from things that happened to us growing up, events that occurred to us. So if you go through a series of breakups, then you're likely to be hesitant in coming into a relationship because you're not going to fully lean in. You're frightened of being hurt again. And so you're not going to fully lean in. And that can continue for 20 years, 30 years. And eventually will have an impact, of course, because your partner will get sick of that. Now, if that's your partner that I'm talking about, you can still influence that by you changing that dynamic inside the relationship, you working on you. Third way is evolution. Men and women are very different. Our brains are structured differently, and hence we react differently inside a relationship. And if you don't understand those reactions, you can easily take them as criticism, resentment, people shutting down on you, rejecting you. And often that's not the case. It's simply a male or a feminine reaction to things. This is confirmed by science, not just my theory on this. There is clear evidence that our brains are actually structured completely differently. And hence our reactions are different. And you need to understand those reactions and be able to be empathetic to those reactions instead of reacting as though they're personal to you. And the fourth way that we get conditioned is from our culture. And our culture conditions men to show up in a certain way, like not present, not fully listening, not fully engaged, distracted, focused on working and producing an income, and not focused on everything else. And our culture forces women into their masculine state by expecting them to be superwoman, taking care of the kids, the house, him, the parents, the dog, everyone, right? And so she's meant to be this superwoman, but what she ends up being is super stressed, exhausted, worn out, had enough, don't want to do this anymore. And then she relates that to the marriage. But it's not the marriage, it's the culture. And equally for men, whilst they want to please their wife and they fall into trying to please her with things that they think are important, culturally that doesn't work. And so in these four areas, you can work on yourself across these four areas. And in you changing you, you will change the relationship. So if you've been considering doing a recovery call, it's very easy. If you're watching this on YouTube, just check out our website details down below. If you're watching on social media like Facebook, it's very easy. Just look up our website and connect to us for a recovery call so that we can take you through how these dynamics apply, particularly to you in your relationship. And what you'll find is it becomes very clear how you can make a difference in the relationship. And as you make that, you'll find your spouse actually comes on board and wants to change because they can see you changing. And because you're being nicer to them, everyone wants love, they're much more inclined to get on board that way than you trying to tell them that they're wrong and tell them they need to change.